Okay, let's unpack this. Finding the one has really taken a digital detour for so many of us, hasn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
Think about it. A Stanford University study, it pointed out that back in 2017, something like 40% of heterosexual couples met online.
Hmm.
And get this, a striking 60% of same-sex couples online.
Wow, that high.
Yeah. And that's just a massive shift when you think back in 1995, it was only 2% for heterosexual couples, just 2%.
That's incredible. It really shows how fundamentally technology has just reshaped how we even approach connection.
Totally.
The efficiency, of meeting people online is huge, but that convenience, well, it brings its own set of, let's say, challenges, doesn't it?
It really does. It's almost that, what do they call it? The paradox of choice.
Right.
This idea that having like endless options can actually make it harder to just commit to someone.
Basic.
That 2019 study mentioned how more potential matches might kind of ironically lead to less focused attention.
Yeah, spreading yourself thin.
Exactly. And then you've got the whole, world of ghosting, fake profiles. It's a real obstacle course just to get to that first hello sometimes.
It really is. And that leads us right into a crucial point.
Wow.
Once you've actually navigated that whole digital maze and you've got a date lined up, what's the next big factor?
Money.
Increasingly, yeah, it's the financial side of things. There was a recent survey done for Self Financial. They polled over 1,000 U.S. adults.
Okay.
And it really reveals just how significant a stressor this whole money thing has become for people dating.
Right. So for this deep dive, we're really plunging into the financial realities, dating the 2020s. We'll look at the actual costs, the anxieties people feel about money, and even how cash influences how we see potential partners.
Yeah, the perception.
Our goal is really to give you a clear picture of the dollars and cents shaping this search for connection.
And just to be clear, this isn't about reducing dating, which is super personal, just to like economics.
No, of course not.
It's more about acknowledging the very real economic factors that, inevitably play a role in our dating lives and the choices we make.
Absolutely. So let's get down to it. Brass tacks. This survey found the average spend per date is around $58.84. $58.
Okay, an average.
But there's a pretty notable difference when you break it down by gender, right?
There is, yeah. The data suggests men tend to spend a bit more. Their average was $67.87 per date.
$68.
Which is roughly, 20% more than the average spend for women, which came in at $56.54.
Oh. Still reflects those old school ideas, maybe.
It probably does, yeah.
Yeah.
Likely reflects some of those, deeply ingrained societal norms around chivalry, who provides, even while gender roles are changing.
Right.
And this difference, it could cause some friction, right? If partners have different expectations about money or different values. Could lead to resentment, maybe, or just discomfort.
That's a really good point. These traditional expectations, even if we don't talk about them, they still hit the wallet. But it's also important, like the survey highlights, there's no single right way to date. Everyone's preferences, their financial comfort zone, it varies.
Precisely. What one person thinks is a perfectly fine first date, maybe just a casual coffee.
Yeah.
Another person might see that as, low effort. While
Yeah.
someone else might think a fancy dinner is just way too much pressure for a first meeting.
Totally. Different strokes.
Understanding that diversity is really key to appreciating the range of financial pressures people are actually dealing with.
And speaking of pressure, the survey revealed that a significant chunk of people, 67.9% of Americans,
Wow.
feel stressed about their finances when it comes to dating. That's like 2/3.
That's huge. It really underlines the financial anxiety that can get tangled up with the already vulnerable act of putting yourself out there.
Yeah, trying to connect.
And this stress, it seems like it's pushing people towards some interesting changes in how they approach dating.
Definitely. The survey pointed out that almost 3/4 of people, 74.6%, are choosing more low-cost date options in 2024.
75%,
Yeah.
almost.
Think grabbing a coffee instead of a whole dinner, or maybe suggesting like a walk in the park.
Makes sense.
It totally makes sense when you see that almost the same number, 73.9%, actually agree that dating is just too expensive these days.
Yeah. This move towards budget-friendly dates, it suggests people are more aware of the financial strain.
Uh-huh.
And maybe it's a conscious shift away from just like consumption-driven dates towards actually prioritizing connection, conversation.
Now, here's a stat that really made me go, whoa. 57.7% of people,
Yeah.
almost 60%,
Yeah.
have actually asked for a refund or some kind of contribution after a bad first date.
Get out.
Yeah.
Really, a refund.
You imagine?
That it certainly stark, I mean, you could see it as a sign of financial pressure, sure. But maybe it also reflects a change in how people see dating, like
Yeah.
an investment of time and money. So maybe less tolerance for, quote, wasted resources if it just doesn't click.
It definitely takes splitting the bill to a whole new level, doesn't it?
You could say that.
Now, okay, despite this apparent, cost consciousness, the survey also found that nearly 2 out of 3 people, 64.6%, believe that spending more money on a date will actually lead to a more successful relationship.
Huh. That feels a bit contradictory, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
It really highlights this maybe societal belief that the amount you spend somehow signals how interested you are or how much effort you're putting in.
Right, like flashing cash means you're serious.
Kind of.
Yeah.
As if a more expensive date automatically equals a better shot at long-term compatibility, which I'm not so sure about.
Me neither. And it seems there's this sort of financial threshold we have in mind before things get serious.
Oh, yeah.
The survey found couples spend, on average, around $702.
$700.
Yeah, across about 7 dates before they consider themselves in a relationship.
Wow, that $700 figure really adds up when you think about the cost per date we mentioned earlier.
Right. $50, $60 a pop.
It really underscores the cumulative financial commitment just in those early stages of exploring if there's a connection.
So let's break down where that dating money usually goes. Unsurprisingly, maybe, dinner dates are still the top choice. Just under half, 47.8%.
Okay, the classic dinner date.
But grabbing coffee is super close behind, 44.8%.
Ah, interesting. Those top two, they really show that balance, don't they? Wanting that intimate setting for conversation like dinner, but also opting for something more relaxed, lower pressure, and importantly, cheaper, like coffee.
And the average spend just on food and drink per date, around $50.14 per person.
$50 just for food and drinks.
Yeah. The survey also made an interesting comparison to just general eating out habits.
Oh, yeah.
Said someone dating just once a week spends a little less than the average American's monthly budget for eating out. But
if you date more.
exactly, if you're dating 3 or 4 times a month, those costs can shoot up pretty fast.
Absolutely. The frequency just multiplies the financial burden.
Yeah.
What seems manageable per date can quickly become a big chunk of your monthly budget if you're actively seeing people.
And we can't forget the pre-date prep.
Ah, yes. Getting ready.
The survey found singles spend an average of $50.29, another $50 on things like maybe a new shirt, makeup, accessories, grooming, just getting ready for the date itself.
That's another significant layer of expense, isn't it?
Totally.
Often overlooked when we just think about the cost of the actual date activity.
Totally.
It's that investment in presenting yourself, feeling confident, looking good,
So all these individual costs, they add up to the bigger picture,
right?
the increasing overall cost of dating.
Right.
The survey even mentioned a Match.com study indicated a 40% jump in dating-related spending in just the last decade.
40%.
Yeah, reaching something like $117.4 billion annually across the whole U.S.
Whoa. That massive number really puts the scale of this into perspective. It's a huge economic activity.
No kidding.
And the fact that, 73.9% of people agree dating is just too expensive?
Yeah.
That really underscores this growing tension, right? Between wanting connection and the financial realities you face trying to find it.
It's no wonder then that 68.6% of people admitted feeling uncomfortable on dates specifically because of the cost.
That's a lot of discomfort on what should be, an enjoyable experience.
And over 60% have actually argued with a date about splitting the bill.
Oof. Yeah, money is becoming a really prominent and sometimes clearly a contentious part of dating.
Yeah.
These stats really show how money worries can directly mess with the vibe of a date, potentially overshadowing the very connection people are hoping to build in the first place.
So true. Now, let's switch gears back to the online world for a second. The survey looked into how perceived wealth, how rich someone looks on their profile, affects our swiping.
Ah, the profile pics.
And the findings were pretty revealing.
I bet. What did they find?
Well, a significant number, 71.8%, admitted they were more likely to match with someone who showed signs of wealth on their profile.
Okay, over 70%. That strongly suggests that whether we admit it or not, financial status plays a big role in that initial attraction.
Yeah.
These displays of wealth, they can act like signals, right? Consciously or not, communicating things like ambition, stability, access to cool experiences, which can be attractive.
And these signs of wealth weren't exactly subtle stuff either.
Like what?
Lavish travel pics, think Paris, Dubai, dining at fancy restaurants, showing off luxury brands. Those are the top things grabbing attention.
Right. Those visual cues are powerful,
Right.
instantly conveying a certain lifestyle and maybe, by extension, a level of financial security. Taps into those, underlying ideas about success and desirability.
But maybe even more direct is this finding. A huge 82.3% of U.S. adults admitted to judging potential partners based on their salary.
82%. Wow. That is an overwhelming majority.
Isn't it?
It is striking. And the survey even mentioned another study supporting this, finding that, men with high earning potential tend to get way more attention online.
Right.
It really emphasizes just how deeply money considerations are baked into how we size up potential partners even before we meet them face to face.
It definitely raises some interesting questions about our priorities, doesn't it? When we're looking for a partner, are we really looking for love and compatibility first? Or is financial security creeping higher up the list? Or some mix?
It's complicated.
Finally, the survey touched on that age-old question, who pays for the first date? And it looks like opinions are still pretty mixed.
The eternal question. What's the verdict now?
Well, interestingly, they framed it more around financial capacity, not just traditional gender roles.
Okay, that's different.
The most popular answer at 44.1% was that whoever earns more should pay.
Okay.
After that, 35.6% said split it equally, and 20.6% felt whoever suggested the date should cover it.
That focus on who earns more, that suggests maybe a growing awareness of financial equity, even from date number one.
Yeah, seems like it.
It feels like a shift away from just, assuming based on tradition.
Exactly. It points to maybe a more nuanced, perhaps more pragmatic view, where who pays is considered in relation to actual finances, not just assumed based on gender.
Makes sense in a way.
So as we kind of wrap up this deep dive into the financial side of dating today, several key things stand out, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
Online platforms have totally changed how we connect, but they've also brought in new ways we judge people, often based on how wealthy they seem.
The perception piece.
The cost of dating is significant, it's rising, and that's causing real financial stress.
Yeah.
Which is leading to this clear trend towards more budget-friendly dates.
Right. The coffee dates and walks.
And even that simple question of who pays. It's now often seen through this lens of financial fairness and who owns what.
What's really fascinating is just how tangled up these financial realities are with our really personal desires for, connection and companionship.
Yeah.
It kind of forces us to confront not just the practical costs, but also the underlying values and expectations we bring to finding a partner in this modern world.
And that leads us to a really thought-provoking question, I think. Considering all this data we've talked about, is the increasing financial investment we're making in dating actually leading to more successful, more fulfilling relationships?
Good question.
Or are we maybe caught in this cycle of spending, driven by social pressures, by the curated images we see online? What does all this tell us about how we really value connection and compatibility today in the 21st century?
It's definitely something to chew on. It encourages some deeper personal reflection, doesn't it? Are we prioritizing genuine connection? Or are we getting sidetracked by perceived financial status and, flashy displays? Definitely gives you something to consider.
If you enjoyed this deep dive, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and tap the bell so you never miss an upload. Got thoughts, questions, or maybe some spicy takes on this? Drop them in the comments. I'd love to hear what you think.